Welcome into another edition of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside Heath Bell. Heath, the Padres have a manager. Craig Stammen officially will be named Padres manager. Kevin Acee of the San Diego Union Tribune just broke the news 20 seconds ago. After a multi-week search process where we saw a number of players, ex-players I should say, come up as potential candidates, certain members of the current coaching staff come up as potential candidates, the Padres turned to someone who was in the front office, was recently a pitcher for the Padres. Craig Stammen will replace Mike Shildt as the Padres manager.
Well, I just got to say I hope Craig does really well. I've played with him, and it kind of shows that, hey, man, maybe relievers can be good managers. I've always said that because you manage the bullpen now. But my first initial reaction is, wow. Just wow. Okay, let's roll.
Yeah, Stammen, of course, pitched 6 seasons for the Padres as one of their more reliable relievers, just retired in 2022. So he knows most of the players on this roster in terms of the core players. He's been in the postseason. He understands a lot of things about the game. And most recently, he was serving as a special assistant in the front office under A.J. Preller. Just to give everyone a bit of a behind-the-scenes peek here, we actually recorded the first segment of this show talking about how the Padres don't have a manager yet. The news just broke, so we scrapped that segment. We're starting over. I mean, this is all happening very, very quickly. And surprisingly, the Padres were the last team to hire a manager. Again, the Rockies, Warren Schaefer's currently the interim. They'll see what they want to do there once they actually hire a head of baseball ops. But among the teams that had managerial openings, the Padres were the last one to make a hire. It comes today as free agency is set to begin. Free agency begins at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. Comes after Victor Rodriguez, the hitting coach, left to go take a job with the Houston Astros. This will bring some stability to the organization because without knowing who the manager was, the coaches didn't know if they would have a job. They didn't know what the approach was going to need to be in terms of players. Again, just having someone at the top now, it makes things a little more clear, the path moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I don't know if Craig knows a bunch of coaches, or is he? I think he would keep the coaches since he's kind of known them and this and that. But yeah, it's just it's kind of shocking to me. I'm still kind of in my. I just didn't see that one coming. I really just didn't see it coming. It's kind of like when you're seeing a guy throw fastballs all the time to every batter in front of you, and then all of a sudden he throws a curveball, and you're just like, well, I didn't see that one coming. Okay. All right. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all. That's all.
Stammen was not one of the publicly known finalists for the Padres manager job. Albert Pujols, of course, was the biggest name who was considered a finalist. You had Ruben Niebla, the current Padres pitching coach. So there were a number of names that had come out. Stammen was not one of them. I will say this, having covered Craig Stammen, great guy all the way around. Absolutely one of those players who wasn't the biggest name on a roster, but definitely was a leader in the clubhouse, was really the leader of the relief corps for many, many years. Again, someone who was one of these spokes players, if you will, for the Padres, especially during COVID. He was one of the players who really came out and spoke for the team a lot. So there are a lot of things here that are very transferable skills, the natural leadership skills, dealing with the media, being sort of a front-facing spokesperson type. So I get the hire. You're right. It's a surprise. But
here's the thing is, I think he's a great guy. I honestly don't have one thing bad to say about him. I'm going to be rooting for him probably more than I have at any other manager for the Padres. It's just kind of I can't put it into words, but am I cheering for him? Am I rooting for him? Yes. Because of all those things you just said, and I've met him and I've been teammates with him. So, and I think he's a great guy, and I think he's very knowledgeable of the game and all that good stuff. It's just it's just out there, it's just kind of like, it's just, I don't know how to put it into words. I think I'm going to have to probably sit on this for a little bit, but it's nowhere that I'm saying this is a bad hire. This is, what are they doing? It's just kind of, It's just, I'm just kind of shocked, but also happy at the same time. So it's just, I think the coaches are pretty much going to be the same except for Victor, and that's kind of a sad part.
Yeah.
Maybe if we had done this a couple days earlier, Victor would still be there, but who knows? That's a personal preference for him. So we just have to move forward and see what happens for free agency. So
Yeah. One
yeah,
of the
I'm
things
just
we
I'm happy and excited, but also like just got slapped in the face. So it's like, whoa, didn't see that coming. But
one of the
anyway,
things
really happy for Craig, and I hope he does really good.
Yeah, again, grade A human being, someone that certainly has a lot of support just within the broader San Diego baseball community and, of course, within the San Diego Padres organization. One of the things that we talked about a lot, Heath, is that for the Padres, a team that is coming off back-to-back 90-win seasons, has made the playoffs 4 times in the last 6 seasons, has stated their goal is to win a World Series. Having a manager who has previous managerial experience would have been a benefit. It was clear the Padres, based on the candidates they chose, were not going to go in that direction. They also were going to go with someone on the younger side. AJ Preller, in his season-ending press conference, specifically stated he wants the Padres' next manager to be their next manager for 10 years, which more or less eliminated anyone over the age of 60. Once they decided they were going to go young, they were going to go someone who has not previously been a manager. You look at people who knows this front office and the dynamics at play, who knows these players, who knows this clubhouse, who has relationships with all the stakeholders, whether it's on the business side of the Padres, the media. Craig Stammen is a guy who does check all of those boxes. So once they decided that this was the route they were going to go, I do think this is a hire that makes a lot of sense.
I think it makes a lot of sense because I've kind of said this, and as I was stumbling, I don't know if I said this. Managing in the big leagues now for the majority, not every single team, but for a lot of it is managing the bullpen, managing the starters, managing the pitchers. And what better, and I thought about this, what better to do it is than a reliever, a guy that's been out there day to day. I mean, you got the managers don't really make the lineup anymore, and they don't have to make a lot of different moves. As in, the pitcher's coming up to bat. Who's going to hit for the pitcher? How you going to bring him in? Who's this and that. A lot of it is just kind of set up there with numbers. Guys need days off, this and that. So, what better than to have a pitcher? And they say traditionally pitchers were bad managers, but let's try a reliever because reliever now the game is all about pitching. Offense. There's your lineup. It's kind of the American League way. Here's your lineup. You don't have to make a bunch of changes, but yeah, it's just I think it's a good hire for the Padres. I really do. The more I think about it, it's just different, and I like this different, but it's just it was just kind of thrown from left field. But here's the thing: is if free agents can understand, maybe pitchers, if our organization can sign some pitchers or some relievers or whoever they're going to go after, they kind of go, hey, I played against him. He's going to be a good guy, or I know him. So it's going to be kind of cool having a manager that I just played with, a few years ago. So it's a possibility. It's interesting.
Yeah, so Stammen is 41 years old. It's reportedly a 3-year contract to be the new Padres manager. As I mentioned, he's been a special assistant over the last couple of years. He's kind of worked in a couple different roles. He's alternated, as Kevin reported, between spending time with the big league club, working with the minor leaguers. And as we talked about, this really was driven home for me during the 2020 pandemic season, just covering the team and everything that was going on in Major League Baseball. Again, Stammen was a good spokesperson. He's a good leader. He's someone that everyone in the clubhouse respected and looked up to. And I think those are all good things. And especially we've talked about this current Padres team having some big personalities, the Manny Machados of the world. Fernando Tatis Jr., as we know, has been very up and down, both in his performance and his emotions. So having someone who knows these guys, gets these guys, has spoken to these guys before, understands how they operate, what makes them tick, that is a good thing. That is a good way to go about this. And I do
kind of the same generation too. They're going to like the same music. They're going to like the same this. No, I'm being serious in that aspect. Sometimes you have a manager that is like in his late 50s, 60s, and you're 25, and you're kind of like,
No.
he just doesn't get today. Where that's not going to happen with Craig. That's he was in the trenches just a few years ago and stuff like that. So I think people respect him in that aspect.
Hey, we've told you about Huel's new Daily Greens ready to drink can, but also we do not want to forget about the OG.
Your
the
favorite. You love that chocolate peanut butter
I
flavor.
do.
You and Kratz love that chocolate peanut butter flavor.
That's
So
my favorite
good.
one. Mm-hmm.
It's so
The
good.
breakdown?
The vanilla, also good. But when they sent me the chocolate peanut butter, it's like a dessert. But it's not.
35 grams of protein, no added sugar, gluten-free for your boy, under $5 per meal because it's a meal in a drink. 6 grams of fiber, 27 essential vitamins and minerals. Huel makes healthy eating simple. They also just launched into Target stores nationwide. Try both products today with 15% off your purchase for new customers with the exclusive code FOUL at Huel.com/foul. Use that code, fill out the post-checkout survey to help support FT. Get after it, FT fam.
Now the next step is figuring out who on the staff will be retained. As we discussed, because of the late hire, a number of very well-respected Padres coaches did interview and ultimately accept positions with new teams. Victor Rodriguez, as we've talked about, a very, very well-respected hitting coach who led the Padres to two of their better offensive seasons in recent history, even with last year's struggles, just the amount of contact they made, the poise, the composure, late game at bats. He was hired by the Astros as a hitting coach yesterday. And third base coach Tim Leeper, who is someone that was very, very highly respected in the clubhouse as well, he was hired away by the Mets. So at minimum, the Padres will have to hire a new hitting coach and a new third base coach under Craig Stammen. But I do think it's important that Stammen is installed as manager while Ruben Niebla is still under contract. And I think this is going to be one of the biggest keys for the Padres, is ensuring that Ruben Niebla remains the Padres pitching coach.
Well, it would be a real heartbreaker if we lose Ruben. So it's I don't know why Ruben would go unless the front office they're butting heads. But Ruben's one of the best pitching coaches out there. So I just don't understand why he would leave or why he would we wouldn't re-sign him or keep him. That just doesn't make sense to me.
And Ruben was the Padres pitching coach in 2022 when Craig Stammen was on staff. So they have worked together. There is an existing relationship there. And it's really going to be critical for the Padres to keep Ruben Niebla now because we move into free agency starting today. As we discussed, free agency begins at 5 p.m. Eastern today, 2 p.m. Pacific. The Padres, as expected, saw Michael King decline his part of the mutual option with the team. He's a free agent. Robert Suarez opted out of his final 2 years on his contract. He's a free agent. Dylan Cease, of course, is a free agent. And now the news that, of course, that Yu Darvish will miss the entire 2026 season after having an internal brace procedure to repair a UCL injury in his right elbow. The Padres have a lot of needs, both offensively and on the pitching staff. And with Craig Stammen as your manager and potentially Ruben Niebla as your pitching coach, you feel better about pursuing some lower cost options, some guys who maybe are coming off bad years, looking for bounce backs that are going to come a little cheaper in terms of who you're going to sign on the free agent market as pitchers, and then use the bulk of your available money on hitters. If they don't retain Ruben Niebla, then you have a little less confidence about the Padres being able to tease out more from some of these low-cost pitcher signings, and they have to go spend most of their available resources on pitchers. So I do think that now that we have a manager in place, depending on if Ruben Niebla stays, it fundamentally alters what the Padres' free agent strategy will be and should be, and if nothing else, we have a little more direction today than we did yesterday.
Yeah, I think we got a lot of direction. I mean, our number one key should be, let's call Ruben, let's lock him in, let's make sure he comes back because he knows all the pitchers and all the pitchers respect him and like him. It's just I like that routine of then let's go get some offense, but we don't have a whole lot of spots to put offense, but we have to find kind of one key starter. I think we don't need an ace, but we need somebody reliable to rack up innings, or somebody that's had for some reason some trouble, like Nick in Boston didn't really have potential. That Ruben kind of can work his magic and make him make that potential come out, and then try to go get some more offense, get some thump in the lineup. So, but there's not a whole lot of positions to do that. So it's going to be kind of it's tricky. It's going to be kind of tricky to do that.
Heath, one question I do want to ask you, and we talked about all the pros of bringing in Craig Stammen as someone who has been in the same clubhouse as a lot of core players on this team, has existing relationships with them. Is there any aspect of this from your vantage point that's a negative, in the sense that the players will see him as a fellow peer and maybe not with the same authority or deference that they'd give to an established manager?
Well, if I'm going to look at the negative side, Ruben was kind of Craig's boss a few years ago, and now, then he's getting to get bossed around. So it's just kind of a fun term to say, but it's like, hey, you were my boss 4 years ago, and now I'm your boss. So, but anyway, players, it just depends if he jokes around with the players and. Okay, not saying party with them, but if he crosses that line of, hey, I'm still a player, I can be your best friend, this and that, or it's like, hey, I'm managing now, let's do the best thing for the team. Let's go out there. If you can come to me, this and that. You got to keep like that distance a little bit, but also you can go and talk to the players. But the one bad thing that you can have is if you're, like I've said this before, whatever manager comes in here, and if there's different rules for different people, then it's going to look a little fishy and it's going to be some bad. But if the rules are kind of set across the board, then everybody will respect him, and for the most part. And, if you don't respect him and he has the rules for everybody, then I think that's a personal issue for you, the player. But if he starts favoring certain people or talking to certain people all the time because they're buddies or this or that, that could be kind of a trauma down the line about, come June, July, that's going to be some problems, as in like, dude, he cares about so-and-so. He don't care about me, this and that, where it's going to be a problem. And that's the only negative part that I see. But, I don't see Craig doing that. He's always been a professional. He's always been a great guy. He's not buddy with it. Well, he's a good guy, but I'm just saying I don't see him being that way, as being, changing the rules for certain people. But, I've been with managers that were great coaches, and this was veteran players telling me this. And they were my manager and they were on my team. They're like, man, managing has changed him, because he used to be a great coach. You could talk to him, this and that. Now it's like closed doors, can't do this, can't do that. And he was a manager for one of the big clubs, for 4 or 5 years. And then he just, he got fired because he just wasn't good at that. And then he became a coach again. He was a great guy. Power got to his head. So hopefully that doesn't happen for Craig, but we'll just have to wait and see, because you just don't know until you get that power.
Every manager needs good coaches under him. We talked about Victor Rodriguez, a very, very highly respected hitting coach within the industry and within the Padres clubhouse, leaving to become the Astros hitting coach. We know that hitting coach for the San Diego Padres is one of the most unstable jobs in all of Major League Baseball. They have cycled through a ridiculous amount of hitting coaches. Given that Craig Stammen, of course, was a relief pitcher, his background is on the mound. You have Ruben Niebla, one of the best pitching coaches in the game. How important, in your mind, is it for the Padres to bring in an established hitting coach who immediately does have that authority that players will show respect to? Just because I think, again, hiring someone who is a first-time hitting coach, or his only experience was as an assistant hitting coach or a quality control coach or a game planning coach, is going to be very, very different than hiring someone who has been a hitting coach that has led teams to postseason success and just has a track record that you can't really deny.
See, I've wondered that for years. Why don't they go and get somebody or steal somebody from somebody and overpay him? He could be the highest paid coach on your staff or whatnot, just because it's a revolving door. And a lot of teams have two coaches, and then the assistant hitting coach or something, or, a main batting practice thrower or something that travels. So everybody, I don't know, but it's just like, it's been a revolving door and it hasn't been that big of an issue. Where I think if they went out and got a hitting coach that was, let's just say Toronto's hitting coach, because they mash the ball, this and that, and
Yeah, David
not
Hopkins.
everybody,
Yep.
not everybody was, Bubba Shett, or not everybody was a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And they, that has the respect of turning guys into good players or great players. And that would be huge for the Padres. But, everybody always talks about the manager and then kind of the pitching coach, because Padres always been known for really good pitchers. What about the hitting coach? The hitting coach, is huge, especially, with this team. If we can get a guy and then he could be here for 4 or 5, 10 years, that would be huge. Just kind of like, hey, go to San Diego. That hitting coach over there, he'll turn your career around.
We will see what new manager Craig Stammen chooses to do. But for now, he will take over as the Padres manager. Once again, a 3-year contract. The Padres' long search for a manager is over. We will see if Craig Stammen is the man who can lead them to the World Series, as the franchise has stated is their goal. Heath, any final thoughts as we wrap up here?
No, Craig, do really good, man. So give me an opportunity to get out there, in a couple of years. I'm going to be rooting for you. I got your back. Gosh, I just think it's still shocking, but I think it's a really good, and I think it's a great hire, and I'll be rooting for you, man.
Absolutely. We will see what happens, and we will have full coverage once he's formally introduced at his press conference and all the developments that take place this offseason with coaching hires, free agent additions. We will have you covered here on Friar Territory. Once again, now is a great time to subscribe. Go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave us a review, give us 5 stars, all the good stuff. For Heath Bell, I'm Kyle Glaser. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll be back next week.